how do you think the Leafs are going to do this year?
They're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Perhaps it's time you retired now. You're clearly delusional.
Well, Carl, it was a fantastic experience seeing the work that you've done here today with our great Swedish friends. You know, I followed vicariously through your website updates and the great work that you're doing here, and you know, just the opportunity to touch something that's been underwater since 1943. The iconic piece of Royal Canadian Air Force history is actually quite touching. It's amazing. It was worth every minute of the travel and drive to get here to see you, and great day for the Royal Canadian Air Force. I was in Trenton in the early days when we brought the pieces back from Norway of that beautiful, magnificent aircraft that's now the centerpiece of the National Museum of the Canadian Air Force. And I've seen other pieces of memorabilia, and in fact, if you were to look at my desk right now, one of those ingots that you gave me from the 426 recovery in Belgium is sitting there. So I don't think any piece is too small or too large. Of course, it'd be great to get something that we could get into the back of shape of Halifax, the Halifax and Trenton is, but you know, I think every little bit helps tell the story of an awful lot of young men who went in the service of their country and didn't come back. 26,000 odd in bomber group. So now to the second part of your question. I mean, history is really important to the Royal Canadian Air Force. I come into the job as commander, and the official history of the Royal Canadian Air Force, Volume 3, ends in 1945. So I've made it a priority of my time in command to start to set the record straight. We were born out of war with a wonderful pedigree and great history, and I think that there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from that to inform the Royal Canadian Air Force moving forward. It's not about melancholy looking back to what was, although that's an important part of recognizing our history. But it's about moving forward with this great institution, the Royal Canadian Air Force. And I think the work that you're doing is just an incredible cornerstone of what we need to be thinking about moving forward. It's this really important part of our nation's history is probably not as well known as it should be across the country. I take a lot of enthusiasm out of the fact that the museum in Trenton, for example, is now the largest tourist attraction really between Kingston and Toronto, and that there are over 50,000 primarily school children who go and get educated in the history of the RCAF. I know Nanton shares a similar pedigree, as do a number of other great locations in Hamilton or around some of our wings. And I think it needs to be a tireless effort to keep those candles burning, because we've got to let Canadians know about this great part of their history that isn't well known enough. So I mean, that gives me the energy to continue moving.
Well, we're here today as Commander of the Air Force. I'm going to graciously accept the kind donation from the Halifax 57 project of ingots from a 426 Halifax that was crashed. And these ingots represent a large part of our history in our Air Force. It represents an aircraft that most of the Canadians in Bomber Command would have flown, and it recognizes the sacrifice, commitment of all those young men those many years ago. It's my intent as we transition back to our old wings to use some of this metal from that 426 Halifax and put them in the new wings we're creating for the Royal Canadian Air Force. If you come here, Scott, you can see our previous wings were gold in nature, and we're going back to our roots and recreating them in silver. So all of our wings across the Air Force will be silver, and all of them will contain a certain amount of this great donation from you that I'm forever grateful for. Thank you.
And what do you think about the youth being here, about the young people? Do you think it's important for them to be out here?
Well, I think if you talk to most of the people with Air Force wings on their chests, will tell you that their love of flying began at an air show just like this one at some point in their life. So this is what we're here to do. We're here to inspire our youngest and imagine what their future could be amongst the clouds. They make great young citizens. We teach them a lot about aviation, and many go on to be fantastic pilots in the Royal Canadian Air Force. So keep studying, keep working hard, and we'll always have a place for you in one of our cockpits.